Hello there, folks. My name is Spoonks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was A Quiet Place Part 2, making $3.1 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $150 million, and its worldwide total to $248 million. So this will without a doubt be the last time we see Quiet Place Part 2 on the top 5 because, well, not only is it at the number 5 spot, but from this week forth, the film will now be able to also be viewed from home. You can rent it on video on demand or watch it on Paramount Plus if you have the streaming service. So not only is that a factor as why this is the last time you'll be seeing it, but also we got two major films hitting theaters later this weekend, which we'll talk at the end of the video about, but will also most certainly knock down this film off the top 5. But even if so, the fact that this film was able to cross 150 million domestic and quintuple its original budget of 61 million during a pandemic just shows how much of a success story this movie is. Cannot say it enough. If I've said it once, I've said it again. Great job, guys. Super happy that the film turned out as successful as it did. And even though this is definitely the last time we will be seeing it on this series, what a way to go out. I think ending with like 3 million is a good way to go out for sure, especially since how much it was able to do. So again, for the last time, good job, A Quiet Place Part 2. Number 4 is The Forever Purge, which made $7.1 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $27 million and a worldwide total of $36 million. So believe it or not, this is the best hold of any film in the Purge franchise. These films usually drip over 50 and even 60%, but this film was able to drop less than 43%, which is very impressive. But what's not so impressive is that this is still the lowest grossing Purge film in the franchise. This film has begun a decline since the last one, again ironically called The First Purge, and this one seems it's going to continue that tradition. However, this does not mean it's a failure, actually, because, once again, since this is a Blumhouse production, their business model is very cheap, and the film costed and reported budget of $18 million. I had to correct myself last week because I said it was $23 million, but it was adjusted to $18 million, and I apologize for that. And it has already doubled that worldwide. So I guess all I have to say is good job. Moving on to number 3, we have The Boss Baby Family Business, which made $8.8 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $36 million and its worldwide total to $39 million. So its drop-off this week was actually quite on par with the first film's drop-off. That film dropped off with 47%, and this film dropped off 45%. So even though this one is clearly not making nearly as much as the first one, it seems that the audience for both are responding well to this one, as I think this will definitely surpass Peter Rabbit 2, and I think it has a good chance of surpassing Tom and Jerry domestically. But I'm not sure if it can make nearly enough to match the likes of Raya and the Last Dragon or The Croods and New Age, which were both huge financial hits earlier in the pandemic, because like I said earlier in the video, there are 2 new releases and one of them is a family movie, and that's going to be really stiff competition for this film. But I think if the film has strong word of mouth, if it keeps going and the holds are still as strong as the first one, then I think it may have a chance at being one of the strong contenders at the box office, especially during the summer for sure, because I don't think it's that much of a failure, as it is also released on Peacock and it did really well there. It actually had stronger viewers, better than Cruella on Disney Plus, which is very impressive considering that, it's Peacock. And also the fact that this movie cost $82 million, and the fact that it hasn't really gotten anywhere there. Though, to be fair, it doesn't release internationally until later on this month and throughout the various months until October, so it's going to definitely take a while for those international numbers to boost. But still, I think it's doing pretty alright for the time being. It's certainly doing much better than a lot of the family films and even some of the major releases that came out this summer. So we'll see if Boss Baby 2 can hold out and have another strong hold this weekend. Number 2 is F9, The Fast Saga, which made 11.4 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 141 million and a worldwide total of 542 million. So it had a much stronger hold than its second week, dropping just 50% from last week, though, to be fair, for obvious reasons, which we'll get into later. And I guarantee it will definitely surpass Quiet Place Part 2 very soon, and I think 600 million worldwide is for certain, and I think it even has a chance of getting to 700 million worldwide, but it might not be as big of a hit as many people have hoped. Don't get me wrong, this is still a fantastic performance at the box office. 143 million, 542 million worldwide. That's incredible, especially for these times. But I feel like many people with that 70 million opening weekend, people are like, oh, well, this movie's just going to keep going and going. But really, though, it just keeps declining and declining, and it has to be really that many people just didn't find the film all that appealing. Many people must have thought it was either it was alright or just not as good as they would hope. I definitely, once again, it's going to get to 600 million and, like I said, maybe even 700 million, and it's definitely most likely gonna do better than Hobbs and Shaw domestically, at least. But I'm not sure if it's gonna be that huge blockbuster that Universal was hoping for with like $1 billion, though, to be fair. No one is really expecting $1 billion movie at this point. But even with my cynicism and skepticism, I still cannot deny that this is still a solid performance at the box office, to say the least. Once again, 500 million worldwide, amazing, and the fact that it's already just about about 10 million behind Quiet Place Part 2, and it's only been in theaters for like 3 weeks is honestly pretty impressive, if I do say the least. It may not do as well as many people hoped, but it's still doing fine for what it is. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, and that was, of course, Black Widow, making 80 million on its opening weekend domestically, and is sitting at 159 million worldwide. Of course it was going to be Black Widow. If you didn't see this coming, I don't even know how to respond to that. But 80 million opening weekend, crushing F9's original 70 million. Now officially the highest opening weekend for any movie released post-pandemic. What will top it? I don't know, but that's incredible, and it's already at over 100 million worldwide. Just phenomenal. The fans kept waiting, and as the saying goes, all good things come to those who wait, and this certainly was the payoff for Disney. They kept pushing it back, and the audiences generally supported the film. The real question is, like with many of these huge openings, is how drop-off is going to be, because they usually suffer from like 60 or even in the high 50s drop-offs, and I honestly don't think it's going to suffer a huge catastrophic drop-off. It's probably going to be like around the 50% range, because I feel like many people who didn't want to see it this weekend and definitely did not want to pay the $30 on Disney Plus are waiting to see it the following weekend, because they feel like maybe that the hype will die down and they'll feel more comfortable with going to see it then. That's my theory, at least, and I still, with how positive the reception has been for the movie and how much everyone who has seen it pretty much enjoyed it, I feel like that it's not going to suffer from a huge drop-off. But yeah, once again, the Marvel movie is the number 1 movie in America. We'll continue to see if this movie continues its success and if or how big the drop-off will be for next week. But for right now, and it definitely feels good to say this again, but Marvel has the number 1 movie in America of the weekend. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this week we've got 2 major releases. The first one is Escape Room Tournament of Champions. Remember Escape Room, that movie that came out in early 2019? Well, the movie was able to make 145 million worldwide on a $9 million budget, so that warranted a sequel. I honestly think that pretty much everyone can all agree that this movie's just gonna pretty much turn out like the Forever Purge. It'll open 10 to maybe 14 million this weekend. I'm not seeing too much hype around it, and while I have seen some advertising it advertising for this movie, they're not hyping as much as they should be. And again, did anyone really ask for a sequel to Escape Room? But this will either way probably be a hit like the Forever Purge because they probably saw how much money they could make with the first one and do it again with this one. So the budget probably isn't that expensive, but again, not really expecting a whole lot for this movie. And then the other major release is Space Jam: A New Legacy. Now, I know a lot of people are speculating how well this movie's gonna do, and if I'm being honest, I think this movie's gonna do pretty well. I think it's got a lot going for it. It's the most recent family film in a while. The first film has a major cult following, and even though, well, no one really asked for this, a lot of fans are really anticipating this standalone sequel to one of their most beloved films from their childhood. Not to mention that the trailers have garnered a lot of attention on the internet, and many people have reacted positively towards the trailers, saying that they have gotten them very interested and excited to seeing the movie. And I think that's a major factor as to why I think this movie will be very successful. Where it will land on the top five is the big question, though, because once again, it really depends on Black Widow's drop off. If it's disastrous, if it's super unexpected, sudden, then I definitely think Space Jam will take number one. But if Black Widow has a very strong hold akin to previous Marvel films, then Space Jam might have to settle for number two. But I still think this movie will do very well and might even exceed expectations on the internet. But we will truly see how this film and everything else does on next week's episode of Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you guys think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all of the social media links right there. And until next time, guys, stay sharp.